Very much for the introduction, Jerry. So a West Australian gold company, and I'll talk you through the assets and our exploration for the coming years. We're primarily based in a land package 50k southeast of Leonora, a couple of hours drive north of Kalgoorlie, 1,000 square kilometres of underexplored land. And at the heart of that, we have the 500,000 ounce Apollo Hill resource. And I'll talk to you about some of these points, but we're going to grow that resource. I want to show you how we're going to do that. We're going to look for an increase in the grade profile. And within that land package, I see tremendous opportunity for some genuine new drill bit discoveries. I'm just looking at that slide, I guess two key points. Fully funded at 6.51 million at the last quarter, just after our cost of float. We have drilled 4,000 metres as well in the last month since floating, and a very tight sort of register, and what I term as a strong register. Some of the names on there, I suppose the company's come out of Josh Pitt's stable. This was an asset in Hampton Hill, and very much Josh is a supporter. As you can see there, some of the names there are his companies. Directors and officers with 5%. Peel Mining holds 33% in escrow for 2 years, and we did get a couple of really decent funds in at the float, and one of them a US gold fund who's taken an interest and is on a sort of watch and watch and act list, I hope. Jerry's kindly introduced me. I guess I've come from a gold background, Newmont Mining Corporation, and worked at chief geologist in some of the big mines in head office in Denver. Rob from Peel Mining, I guess his exploration track record is, to say the least, exemplary, with the discoveries of Wagga Tank and Southern Nights, particularly in the last couple of years. So pleasure to have his leadership as chairman. Mr. Venn, Andrew Venn, is a stockbroker from Argonaut, so he brings a bit of capital experience. He's an old Leonora boy, so farm boy from pretty much where we're exploring on the ground, so he's got those local contacts. And he's the chief operating officer for DDH1, which is the biggest diamond drilling contractor in the country. So potentially useful when we need a diamond rig. And Ryan there, our company secretary, full of energy and enthusiasm, and arguably one of the driving forces behind Peel as well. We floated the assets out of Peel Mining we listed on the stock exchange on the 9th of March this year. And that just shows you the position of, oops, sorry, wrong button. That shows you the position of the land package. And the key points on that diagram are really, I suppose, A, good infrastructure, B, fantastic gold infrastructure. We're kind of 50k or 80k to some major mills there, and that could give us some processing options in the future. But this particular piece of ground up this belt is a thing called the Keith Kilkenny lineament, and that's arguably responsible for multi-million ounce operations such as Carosue Dam. And for various reasons, this piece of ground here has remained very underexplored, and some of that's history, gold price, some of it's the way that tenure's been held, some of it's the fact that it's on a lake, but we're now going to give that, and some of it is just, we've now, Peel Mining has very successfully consolidated that land package, and we're going to take benefit of that from the IPO. I like this diagram. It's a bit sort of messy and noisy, but it speaks to me for a couple of things. One is this is a massive gold alteration system. We're not looking at little quartz veins, or this is, to me, a system of substance. And pretty much all those drill holes are, gold results all the way down. So we do spend a fair bit of money assaying to make sure we pick all that up. The other one is, done it again. The other one is in terms of the mineralised envelope. It's very big, very wide, so that's going to give us potential for a lower stripping ratio during any eventual mining operation. Visually off that slide, you might say as low as 2.5 to 1 could be a reasonable figure. And when you compare that to some of our peers in the sort of 1 gram ore body, zone, that really adds an advantage. The other thing that really stands out to me is this trend here, where you're starting to see the plus 15 plus ounce gram intersections. And within that big gold system, which I just see as a gold alteration envelope, I think our alteration is gold rather than anything else, we see some very high-grade plunges and trends. And I alluded to the fact earlier that that's what we're going to try and flesh out within the system. And some of it is when you look at the sort of exploration history of this thing, we've had, you know, probably 8 different companies in here, 8 different geological databases, and we've pulled that together for, I think, the first time. That's on there just to, I suppose, make the point there is a resource, and it gives you a feel for the robustness of that and the thickness of it. Those blocks at the top there, you're about 80 metres wide there, they're 30 metres long, and that's down to about 180 metres depth. First drill program, 4,237 metres, if I'm going to be exact. I don't know why that number's imprinted in my brain, but turning round, that's the actual resource area there. The dark green and the black holes are the holes we've drilled, so 35 drill holes in the last month, all RC. The green box in the south is where we've been focusing on increasing, you know, extending, upgrading, increasing the resource, and we're aiming for a significant or a material resource upgrade this year. Without giving any numbers, if that's 500,000 ounces, that kind of shows you where we're heading. So we, you know, a good sort of exploration target is to get to 1 million ounces for this prospect, and I'd like to do that in 2 steps over the next year. The results that came in have been very much of the tenure of the global resource grade and the thickness, and we're definitely seeing that mineralised system, A is continuing and B is growing. We're open to the south with some very serious Apollo Hill type intersections, and then assays pending to the north, and we've taken some pretty bold step outs under some you know, fantastic intersections. And that diagram there, you can see up the north there, there's an old air core hole which has hit the structure 5 metres at 25.9 at the bottom of it, and we're going to drill around that and bring this thing up. So I can see some, you know, step changes to this resource profile. And if I look at that, that's a 2 million ounce picture to me in terms of mineralised system. And the sort of the challenge for us will be how quickly we can push that up. As well as making it bigger, you know, I'm not shying away from the fact that this is a low-grade system, low strip, low grade, simple metallurgy, but I need to make it better. So the drilling in here, where these green holes assays pending for about 25 holes, has been very much focused on trying to pull out the high-grade plunging shoots within the gold system and develop that grade profile. Let's have a look. So that picture, I hope, speaks for a couple of things, and you can see the trends. But what we've been starting to see is these high-grade plunging shoots through the system. So all those purple discs are above 10 grams a tonne. And what we see these are is riedel shears which have come through the system. And due to a sort of large-scale drilling orientation, it's very easy to step over plunging shoots or under them. And this is a very nuggety ore body, so it's about teasing them out. So all that drilling has been focused on those high-grade plunging shoots, and that's where we're sort of hoping to change that grade profile. And if I point to some of the intersections up there, you know, I've had the benefit of working at Jundee for 3 times in the last 20 years, and I've seen what intersections like that can turn into, and every time gone back and been pleasantly surprised that when I've seen those very first exploration intersections where they've grown. And I'll, you know, make the point that that's only 200 metres down, and those mines keep going to, I think Jundee just drilled a hole to about 3,000 metres. So I can really see the system growing. We'll have a look at that in cross-section. You know, and that's a kind of simplified geological picture of how these shears sit in cross-section, and also of the drilling that we've just done and we're waiting for. So the light blue holes have been infilling and trying to pick these trends up where we see, you know, serious sort of plus ounce intersections individual assays. And I always think if I'm sort of 2 metres high, those I'm sure we can mine 3 metres high, and particularly at those grades and at those very shallow depths. But what that could do is 3 things. One, we prove those shoots, we'll lift the overall grade of the resource within that sort of broad envelope between there and there. 2, if we prove up these hanging wall loads, that's going to reduce further a strip ratio on an already low strip operation. And then 3, as we follow those chutes down plunge coming through the section, that's fantastic exploration targets in their own right. And for me, that's the paradigm shift that I'm chasing in this deposit. Quick look at the metallurgy. That is an advantage for us. I guess very high gravity recovery, simple cyanidation process, good recoveries. Most importantly, I suppose the highest kind of, in-process grind size of about 300 microns we're still seeing, which is a coarse ground size for a proper metallurgical scaled-up production. We're still seeing fantastic recoveries. The heap leach recoveries there as well. Very coarse crushers are giving us some interesting options to investigate. And we'll develop that metallurgical story along with the exploration and really try and tease some value out of what could be a very long, stable ore source for not just ourselves, but possibly some of those mills that sit around us. I like this diagram, and it kind of shows us at the centre of the world, I think you could say. And I just wanted to sort of point out that I suppose the standing of some of the neighbours that we have, I guess, major Australian mid-tier companies, global companies such as Newmont and Sumitomo, and very much interested in this particular track of ground, which is the Keith Kilkenny lineament, which is, arguably one of the sort of deep tapping fertile structures. And that also speaks, I guess, to the sort of, again, the proximity to the major mills and different milling operations. King of the Hills up there, which is, I suppose, gone from Saracen now since I put this diagram together to Red 5, I think. And this ground, I guess, for a number of reasons has been underexplored. One has been a big lake running down one side of it. And whereas that once used to be a logistical problem, I don't think people see it like that anymore. Secondly, the tenure has been held in a lot of smaller leases, which we've managed to pull together into one consolidated package. And just to give you some level of how we see the exploration there in terms of its age, a figure I like to talk about is there's 1,000 square kilometres there. We've just flown 750 square kilometres of it with high resolution magnetics. And it's the kind of work we were doing in the Yandal Belt 25 years ago when John Dee was first found. So that's a measure. 250 square K of ground gravity has gone in the last month, or the last couple of months. And that's starting to unlock the architecture and the potential in that piece of ground. And the geochemistry is really sparse. So as well as that resource story, there'll be as much focus from my point of view on finding a big new deposit. And I'm going to show you a few teasers where people have done exploration in the past. And for more to do with gold price or probably corporate goals or purely discovery, somewhere else, people have kind of walked away. So this is a thing called Bob's Bore, which is about 3.5 kilometres east of the main Apollo Hill asset. And we were looking and pulling the old data together. We've got a bit of lake cover sediments. There's one hole there, 9 metres at 10.9. That's the sort of intersection that gets me very excited. Someone has gone in a little bit further north and put a hole in and got one at 1.1, which kind of probably in some people's mind would downgrade things, but in mine, I know that I can do that in Apollo Hill and see exactly the same thing. I used to work up at Newmont's Tanami operations, and that's the sort of thing we would see in their major Cali ore body all the time with, nuggety gold. So more importantly for me, there's 65-metre width there of anomaly, and not just anomaly, we're not talking about ppb anomalies, I'm talking about grams per tonne anomaly in a dolerite, and that thing sits bang on the Keith-Kilkenny lineament. Now, when I trace that to the south and I trace it to the north, for kilometres, there's not another air core line. So that's my 5 minutes up. Finally, another one, sort of 17 metres, it's 6.4 in the south of the lease. I'll lean in. 5 kilometre trend, 800 metre space RAB lines, and every time we hit that major structure coming up the centre of that fold, somebody's hit gold anomalism. And again, that's the sort of intersection that we'd find in the middle of Apollo Hill, and I could probably fit 2 or 3 Apollo Hills in there at least, if not something a lot more exciting from that sort of discovery intersection. Key point there, 20,000 metres of drilling this year. We've already done 4,500 assays pending. Regular results flow. Resource focused at the start, regional focused at the end. We've done the geophysics, which is lining this up, so I'll keep that exploration pressure across all those assets going. And just to show you where my ambitions lie, and I kind of do this a bit tongue-in-cheek, we've had a look at EV equivalent, EV ounce values for the different companies, including ourselves, and I think we're pretty cheap there at $6.93. Gold Road Resources at the top, and although I say it tongue-in-cheek, that's my belief on what the potential of this particular belt and this particular piece of ground can do. And if I get halfway there, I'll be happy. So, thank you very much.